It's great to be here and to share a little bit about our program, our mathematics education, master's in education, master's degree program, sorry, at the University of British Columbia. And my name is Cynthia Nicol. I'm a professor in the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy at UBC. And I hold the David Robitaille Professorship in Mathematics and Science Education. And I'm also the coordinator of this program. This will be our third year. This intake is for our third cohort of the program. And we're very excited that it's receiving the attention that it has, and that we have another group ready to join us. So first of all, let me just, Kelvin has already kind of talked a bit about our program and our agenda for today. Maybe I'll just start with our slides here. That I want to, first of all, acknowledge that the program is hosted at UBC on the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam people. And I want to acknowledge that acknowledgement of the land in terms of where I am. I'm currently on the lands of the Hunkaminam speaking people. And it just reminds me today, it's nice in Vancouver right now. We have some clear skies, but we've had really cold weather over the last few weeks, and now a lot of rain and a little bit of sunshine, which has made some daffodils and crocuses, pop up through the ground in my garden. But I also acknowledge that that isn't the case for the other side of Canada that has 150 centimeters of snow, and south of us in California that's experiencing atmospheric river. So all of this reminds us that how connected we are to place, and the power of our places that we're living in, and the diversity of the experiences that we live with, and all of this connection to place and land that can take us outside the four walls of the classroom, and allows us to be able to think about where we are and how we might connect with each other and our students in a different way. And that's kind of what this cohort is about. The theme of the cohort is teaching and learning mathematics with and in community. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that and what it means. But that's the specific theme to this particular cohort, thinking about mathematics in community. So Jenny might recognize some of these photos because these are actually taken. This is taken right on the inlet there, walking towards Old Masset. And many of these photos are actually from Paraguay. So Calvin had already talked a little bit about the agenda, so we'll have it in a few different parts and Q&A along the way. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the program itself and how it's structured, the kinds of courses that are a part of the program. And then Calvin will talk more about the application process. And then I'll come back and share a bit of how the impact of the experience of this cohort experience has been on the previous cohort and then the current cohort as well. So the cohort is, as you know, it's virtual, online. It's through the UBC campus, and we're starting this cohort in September of 2024 this year. The cohort is 2 years in length plus a term, and it's all part-time. So most people do it within 2 years and a term, and well, it's not most people, about half the people do it in 2 years plus a term, which means you would end in December of 2026. And some people actually finish by the end of August in 2026. So 2 years without that extra term, which means you just need to bunch up some of the courses a little bit. It's totally online, and it's for anyone who would like to do a Master's of Education with a focus in mathematics education. And it's then for everybody, community educators, administrators, disciplines, all grade levels. And it doesn't require that you have a degree in mathematics or science. You don't need to have that, but what you should have is some experience teaching mathematics. It could be in a formal school system or in some other educational context. But it's good if you have some kind of teaching experience. So you might say, okay, why UBC? Why should we take a program at UBC? Well, in mathematics education at UBC, we've got a long history, way more than 30 years, working with the communities, mainly around BC and internationally, bringing in students to talk about and think about graduate work at that level, professional, and working also with the master's degrees and PhDs. This particular program, as an online program, helps meet the needs of educators who are really, as we know, we're all really, really busy, and it's challenging to often to drive out to a campus if you live out in Coquitlam or Burnaby, even in Richmond sometimes, which is a little closer to UBC campus. That can be a challenge. So this program meets the needs of educators who are very, very busy and would like to have some professional development or be able to talk with colleagues on their own time, to be able to fit it into their own schedules. So we're attracting the best students that we can, who, regardless of where they live. So even if you didn't live close to UBC campus, you'd still be able to participate in a graduate program through UBC, but where you're living right now. So the philosophy of the program, we have some guiding principles for it, and these are listed, some of these here. There's a focus on interrelatedness, so trying to think about theory and practice together to improve and better understand what our students are learning and how we can better meet the needs of our students in the communities that we're working in and teaching in. We want to think about how we can collaborate across grade levels and cultures, working together across contexts to try to think about how we can support and mentor each other in really innovative and creative ways. So building those relationships, maybe with your community, certainly with each other in a cohort. So having a professional group of colleagues who are from different places across Canada and across BC and some international is a highlight of the program. And then another guiding principle is respect, and trying to think about improving mathematics education for the context in which we live in, as well as thinking about our own professional leadership. And that leads to thinking about reciprocity, of improving our own understanding of our teaching of mathematics, and then giving that to the community in which we work in. So maybe working with our colleagues, or maybe putting on a professional development workshop for our colleagues, as well as maybe taking what we're learning and sharing it in journals or other kinds of conferences. So we look at trying to give back to the community in terms of what it is that we're learning. And we try to do that together. So the program actually supports these opportunities for building interrelatedness, relationships, thinking about this in terms of respect and reciprocity. So there are opportunities within the program for thinking about how to study math in order to understand and change the world. Trying to think about what role does mathematics play to help us better interpret climate change, for example, and how we might respond to that. How to interpret world poverty and how we might respond to that in our own context. So there are lots of ways of thinking about that. And we have actually a course that's offered that focuses just on thinking about teaching and learning mathematics for social justice. Another opportunity is around exploring community contexts to try to inspire mathematical curiosity for the general public. So we've had opportunities to think about, in our own context, where could we set up a math outdoors table, for example, maybe out in front of the library could be a place to invite people to think about doing mathematics and sharing the joy that comes from coming together to think about doing mathematics. And then studying various theories about how children and youth engage in mathematics. What is research telling us about different ways in which we might think about how we can teach math? And then thinking about how we can examine theories and practice for how math might be experienced beyond the classroom as a container. So how do we take mathematics outside? The classroom, and I don't just mean taking your book and your paper outside and doing mathematics, but how can we be outside and use the space, the land, the place in which we're in, the context in which we're in, to be able to explore mathematics and to explore the world through a mathematical lens. And then finally, just thinking about developing skills and knowledge in order to be able to think about how we can respond to the issues that are in our community. So what's important to our community, to the students in my community, and how can we use mathematics as a way to respond to those issues? So as a context to learn math, but as a way also to be able to use math to make the world a better place. So there are, when I'm talking about the theme of teaching and learning math with and in community, there are lots of different spaces and places for that. These are just some examples where we've taken some of the coursework and some of the projects that students have developed. So thinking about teaching and learning gardens, various cultural spaces, thinking about rural and indigenous communities and urban communities, looking at artistic performances, so thinking about math and dance, or math and poetry, math and weaving, for example. There's a course that's offered in the program that is all about teaching and learning mathematics with the body and through the arts. So those fit with that. Thinking about taking mathematics inside and outside, so outdoor spaces, how do those offer opportunities to think about mathematics differently? Thinking about mathematics in family settings, how do we bring in families together to do mathematics, and what does it look like to do mathematics in the home? And then, as I mentioned, public spaces. Thinking about, I had one really cool event was I had graduate students, and I set up a table in the mall near where I live, and we had for the whole day we just set up math activities and puzzles and games, and had just a great time with people coming by, trying out various activities. And then thinking about, as I mentioned, issues that are important to our communities so that we can use mathematics as a way to make a difference. Okay, so that's a little bit about the theme, the principles that are guiding the cohort. And now I'll just talk a bit about the structure of the cohort. So there are 10 courses, and each is worth 3 credits. So there's 30 credits in the entire program for this MEd in math education. It's over 7 terms, and you can parse that out in different ways. You could do 9 courses and a capstone project, or you could do 7 courses and 2 electives and a capstone project. So there are 7 required courses that we do together as a cohort, as a group, and then you have 2 electives. You can choose what those are, and they can be either face-to-face. If you want to come to Vancouver for a week, we have some intensive 1-week courses that you could, if you're outside Vancouver, you could do that, or you can take courses online. And we also have, I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, courses you could take from other universities and have that count towards your program. So there are different ways in which you might take those courses. Here's an actual timetable by year, where in terms of giving you a sense of a picture of what this could look like. So for the first year, from September 2024 to August 2025, you could take these courses here. These are the required courses: EDCP 562, EDCP 550, EDUC 500, and then EDCP 552. So those are 4 courses that we would take together as a group. And there's about 1 each term. So 1 in September, 1 in January, another 1 in the spring, and then 1 more towards the summer. So those would be 4 courses. And then you could also take electives that you would like to do, approved electives that you would like to do, and that could give you your first year. Your second year has 3 more required courses, and that will finish off the required courses. So you have this course on teaching math for social justice, embodied learning through the arts, and then learning more about how we can become researchers of teaching in our own context as teachers. So a course around teacher research, and setting up, if you wanted to do a capstone, that's a good course that will help you set up a project for you to be able to do either in the summer of that year or in the next term, which would be the final term of the program. So you could do your graduating paper there, capstone paper there, or you could actually even do it in the summer of the second year. So 2 years and 1 term, 7 courses that we do together as a group, and then you have 2 electives and the capstone, or you have 3 electives that you do to complete the program. Okay. And then this just says a little bit about the elective options that where you can go to take electives. You can take any courses that you might be interested in through UBC that are online with the approval of me as coordinator. Courses that fit with the theme. So sometimes people take courses around leadership or other courses around curriculum or assessment. There's a range of courses that you might be able to be interested in. And we have actually a course that we're going to develop around an international conference around STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics will be offered as a virtual conference. And we're thinking about designing a course that will be around that conference that will be set up in the fall. So there's some interesting ideas and ways in which we can offer other courses for you. But you can also have a course through another university that's part of the Western Dean's Agreement, or one that's part of this GREX exchange program with McGill University, University of Toronto, and University of Montreal. And that means that if you get approval, then your tuition through this program would cover your tuition to take a course at another university. Okay, so that just gives you some options for electives. And now I will pass to Kelvin, who will be able to share a little bit more about the application process. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Oh, sorry. Are we having Q&A now? I forgot my own agenda. Let's just pause for Q&A, and then I'll pass to Kelvin. Any questions that you might have? Just on the structure. Okay, sorry, Anayat, I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Can you maybe give us just a few examples of some of the types of capstone projects that students have done recently?
Yes, I can. How about I just have to pull that up, and it's a little further into my slideshow, but I can certainly give you some examples just verbally, and then I can show you some.
Okay.
But what's really cool about the capstone project is there's a real range of creativity involved in it. So sometimes people will do an article. They might like to write an article for Vector, which is a provincial journal, professional journal for math education. Some have created websites. Some have actually done a literature review on a topic that they're really interested in. Another person did a podcast. So it's really open to how you want to kind of pull everything you've learned in the cohort across your courses to something that you're really interested in. So
does it have to be based around a theory, or is it based on a personal interest?
Well, it's a grad level class, so you want to be able to bring in some of the interesting frameworks and theories that you're learning about. But yeah, grounding it in a personal interest is really key, because you want it to be useful for you, right? So if you have something that you're really interested in pursuing, then this is a great place to dive in deeper. Like maybe you're interested in doing or heading up maybe you want to be a math lead in your school, and you want to bring people together. So you might want to design a project on ways in which what would be the most appropriate way to do that. What does literature say about that? And then design some kind of structure that might help you do that. So that's just an example of one that would be more grounded in thinking about what can I learn from the literature. But others might be more around, how could I create a website that might help? And I'll show you one as soon as I pull it up. How do I create a website that might help my colleagues and I learn more about how to take mathematics in new areas, like thinking about taking it outside, for example, or connecting it with Indigenous knowledge systems, or so there's, yeah, whatever you're kind of interested in, you can explore further. It's unlikely that I would say no to a project that you'd be interested in, as long as it fits, you know, it has mathematics in there, and you know, it allows you to kind of grow in it in a new way. That answer that okay? Good.
Yes.
Okay, any others?
Can I just ask, so then in terms of like the capstone project, it's more of a personal project, but not like a thesis paper, is that correct?
Well, you could do a thesis paper if you wanted.
Asking, but it doesn't have to be like a thesis paper. Just confirming.
Okay, no, if you don't want it to be that, you don't, it doesn't need to be that.
Jenny, you pulled words out of my head. Thanks.
Thanks. Just want to confirm. I was just like, should I ask that? But I was like, no, I'm going to ask.
I'm glad you did.
Great.
No, it could be a website, like let's just say, like there was a few people like we haven't finished this cohort that we're in now, so I don't have examples from this current cohort yet, but from the first cohort, there were a number of people who wanted to do websites, partly because they wanted to learn about it, to make one, and another just that they felt that they really wanted to share their work with others and to make it more public. And so they did that, and in the website though, they had places, and I'll show you that, they had places where they were able to say, okay, here's some research literature that helps support my ideas related to this. So it wasn't just links and lessons, it was actually being supported by the work that they had done and all these courses that they had taken. So they were able to pull it together and, you know, make a tab that says research, and then you can go in and kind of see some of that. But then I asked them to also just write a very short, reflective piece, like 2 or 3 pages, just on the experience of it. That, you know, what did you learn by creating this? But so the final project was the website and this short document that was like 3 pages or so. So, but you know, if you wanted to propose something different, you could certainly do that. But inside all that, there could be a small thesis if you wanted to take that pathway.
No, that's not what I was getting.
Just keeping that open for you.
Okay.
I've been away from school for a long time, so thanks, Jenny, for bringing that up.
Thank you so much.
To say also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that if you wanted to keep your doors open for a PhD or, you know, another degree, you never know, you know, you might find that you just love this work, and that happens. It happens. And I had a number of people in the first cohort really feel that way. They said, no way, but then by the end I thought, oh, I kind of like this research work. And so you might want to keep that door open as a possibility. And doing a capstone project is a good, it keeps that door open a little bit for you. So if you do a capstone where you might interview colleagues, for example, around a project that you're collaborating on, and together you talk about, you know, the experiences of doing that kind of a co-constructing of the ideas related to a particular lesson that you've designed, then that would strengthen your application for a PhD program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. And you were going to ask something.
Oh, I guess throughout the year though, can I just confirm, like if you're taking 4 courses throughout the 1 year, but you're only taking 1 at a time, is that correct?
Yep, that's
okay.
Right. Yeah.
Great.
For the most part, like this year, sorry, this cohort number 2, we had the opportunity to do that STEM conference that I was mentioning.
Right.
So actually that was at the end, but it was kind of, you didn't have very much time at the end. So we went to end of November, and in the first 2 weeks of December and a little bit of January, gave a bit of an extension. We did really a crash course that we offered, but that was elective, so you didn't have to take it. But you're right, every course that's required is by itself.
Okay, perfect. I was just thinking about workload and whether or not, when that first slide came up, I was like, oh my God, am I taking 4 courses at a time? And then, no, you explained it well, but I wanted to make sure that was correct.
Yeah. And we know that for the most part, everybody is most people are working at the same time. So we're pretty sensitive to that and respect the schedules. We try to make sure that the assignments and the final assignments at the end sort of fit around your schedules. That's a little bit hard to do sometimes when we have an international cohort, like we have people
Right.
coming from around the world, but we try to do that.
Great,
Um,
thank you.
Cynthia, just one more question. So
Mhm.
the way the cohort moves, progresses. So the cohort with the core courses, we start and end the core courses at the same time, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so in that slide that I had for 2 years in a term,
Mhm.
so you finish with that last course at EDCP 512, the teacher research course,
Mhm.
and that ends, I think, middle of June,
Okay.
something in there. And then, so all the core courses are finished, and by then you have time to take more electives if you need them,
Mhm.
or you can do your capstone. Or if you've taken your electives earlier, which would be when you might take 2 courses at the same time, maybe you're taking
Right.
an elective and another one, but everybody's schedule is different, you know, so you might feel, okay, this term, I can take on another course, but you know, maybe the previous term I couldn't, so you can decide that. And I will help you with that. But you might then be able to finish by the end of August, for example.
Right.
But if you, and Kelvin will talk more about this, if you finish early, it's like car payments on your car, you know, if you sell it before your car payments up, you still have to pay that off, right? So if you finish at the end of August, you still have to pay for the full program. You don't
Okay,
get to
yeah.
miss paying that last term. That you have to
Right.
kind of buy yourself out of it before you can end it.
And that list of electives is available online, is that true? Or where would I find that list of electives?
The electives, we have like a spreadsheet that we've made. Everybody who takes an elective puts in what they've taken so that you can sort of
Okay.
see what's available. This year, I actually offered 2 further courses. One was related to the STEM conference, and the other, people were really interested in math and place. So I offered a graduate level course around math and place, and that was very popular as well.
I'm sorry,
So
what
if
was
there's
it? Cynthia?
interest,
Math and?
math and place, like land and place.
Okay.
So thinking about place and mathematics and the connection from different perspectives, like indigenous perspectives, Afrocentric perspectives, colonial perspectives, and then the role of mathematics in that. So if there's a big interest, I can think about how to design a course. Because I have to, yeah. About that, but
Got it.
I can do it if there's an interest in that.
Okay,
Good.
Great.
And Joseph, you have a question, and then we'll pass to Calvin. Joseph, I can't hear you yet. Did you want to ask a question?
I do, but I'll wait for Joseph.
Oh, it's not going through. Sorry. I had a question regarding time commitment wise. I kind of assume everything is self-paced online material courses, but would there be any certain seminars or lectures that will be provided at designated time slot that we need to book ahead?
Yeah, good question. Thank you for that. It's totally online, and it is self-paced in the sense that each week the cohort moves together week by week. So each week we'll say, okay, let's read these 2 articles and let's think about these questions, and then let's have a discussion about them. And the discussion will be online. But when we started the cohort, it was at the time of COVID. So we also added optional Zoom sessions, and students really loved those because then they could see each other and we can talk like this rather than just talking through the discussion posts. So we often offer optional Zoom sessions, like once a month or twice a month, every 2 weeks, depending on the course. And if you can attend, great. If you're not able to attend, that's okay. And for my classes, I record them and then I just put them up, and we use Canvas as our shell, and I put it up in the Canvas platform so you're able to view it later. So there's no required synchronous meeting. It's all asynchronous, but each week we go through the content together. So we stay as a cohort, but you choose when you want to read the articles, when you want to post, those kinds of things. Does that answer your question, Joseph?
Yep, that has answered my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. And I
No, Cynthia, actually, you answered the question as well. I was going to ask about discussions because when it comes to discussions, I would rather ideally have it face to face, but
Yeah.
the next best alternative would be Zoom, considering that we are spread out all over the place. And I like the option of having online conversations, being able to, see people and
Yeah,
have the back and forth rather than just keep typing away.
totally agree. So we experiment, we've been experimenting with different ways to do that. So it's not always the same
Mhm.
thing of read these 300 posts and put yours up and respond to 2 more kind of thing. You're like,
Yeah.
so there's different ways in which we've been trying to change that so it's not always the same thing. And I think we've got some good practices that we have that seem to work. And and not everybody can attend the Zoom ones, so it's really nice for those who can, because it's I love the conversations as well. I'm with you on that, and you get to know each other
Exactly.
a little differently. So
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's pass to Calvin, and then I'll come back and share a little bit more with some further examples. So Calvin?
Can everyone see my screen? All right. So regarding admissions and application information, and please let me know if you need me to increase my volume. Anyways, regarding application requirements, all students must meet the admission and application requirements for both the UBC grad school and also the program, which includes, number 1, a 4-year undergraduate degree with sufficient standing. We're looking at an average within the B+ range. That's roughly a 76% at UBC for all senior level coursework or equivalent. And we would consider senior level coursework to be 3rd and 4th year level courses. But please note that this is not a clear cutoff point. As shown on the slide, note, if your GPA does not meet the above criteria, the department may submit a special case rationale for you to recommend you for admission nonetheless, if they believe that the rest of your application is strong enough. And you also be required to submit a brief statement of intent. This is maximum 600 words. And your statement should outline your reasons and professional goals for enrolling in the program. And this is also where you make your case. If, let's say, one aspect of your application is not quite meeting the application requirements, your statement of intent is where you make your case as to why, despite that, due to your other qualities, how you're still a strong candidate and should be admitted in the program. You'll also be asked to submit a resume or CV. Please note that this is not a job hunting resume, meaning that there is no need for you to constrain yourself to only 1 to 2 pages. For the purpose of applying for this program, your resume or CV can be as detailed as you need it to be in order to fully showcase your academic and professional experience and achievements so far. Would also require scanned copies of all official transcripts and degree certificate. Additionally, there is preference for those with 1 or 2 years of teaching experience. Again, this is simply a preference and not a hard cutoff point. No, or equivalent teaching engagement with schools, local or international communities, and other related activities, and those with demonstrated professional experience in this area of study. You'll also be asked to provide 3 letters of recommendation. So these are your reference letters. So your referees can be administrators, professors, educators, or other professionals who can speak to your capability and engagement in the field of education and the field of math, and also your ability to complete the program. And please note that in the online application system, you'll be asked to provide an email address for each referee. But please note that we are unable to accept emails from Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail, MSN, or other free email accounts or references. A unique link will be sent to each of your referees, and that will allow them to hop onto a secure site to either type in your reference or to upload a reference document as an attachment if they have already written you one. And for those of you that are applying from a university outside of Canada, where English is not the primary language of instruction, you'll be asked to provide results from an English language proficiency test as part of the application. And please note that tests do expire, so please make sure that you're sending in a test that you have taken within the last 24 months at the time of your submission. You can just Google UBC Graduate School English Language Test to see what tests UBC accepts and what are the minimum scores that you need. So as part of the actual application procedure, this is an online application. Everything is done purely online, and there is no staff for you to walk into our office to assist you with an in-person application. Everything is done online. Navigate to grad.ubc.ca/apply/online. When you're ready to apply, simply click apply online. Read the instructions and either log in with your CWL or create a CWL if you have never attended UBC. A CWL is basically your UBC account login for anything UBC online related. Once you're logged in at the degree program selection, please ensure you type in MAE 3, the MEd in Math Education Professional Cohort. It's important that you correctly select MAE 3 because there has been cases before where folks finish submitting their application only to realize that they didn't actually apply for the correct program. When you reach the experiences and interest page, select MAE 3 again. And once you've finished entering all necessary information, you must click declare and submit. You automatically receive an email acknowledgement with instructions on how to submit your further documentation, as well as the various deadlines. So just going a little bit more in depth regarding references. So when adding your references to your application, you'll be asked whether they are professional or academic references. Academic references would be professors or instructors that have previously taught you that can speak to your academic capacity. And professional references would include your, principal, vice principals, or people who have supervised you in a professional setting. It's preferred to have both academic and professional references, but if for some reason you have been out of school for a long while and are no longer able to contact any academic reference, in those instances, yes, it is fine to only submit professional references. Additionally, you are strongly encouraged to submit your references in an electronic manner. As mentioned previously, simply fill in the email address. For references with free web-based email addresses, so Gmail, Hotmail, so anything that is not tied to an organization, for example, at ubc.ca or whatever, Your references will instead receive a link to a paper reference form. They will have to print it out, fill it in, and then mail it physically to our office. Please note that when folks are writing you a physical reference letter, they make sure that they reference you applying to the Masters of Education. It cannot be a quote unquote generic reference letter. It has to specifically speak to the purpose of you applying to these master's program. So yes, once you submit and pay for your online application, your referees will automatically receive an email with a link and instructions for completing the electronic reference, or in certain circumstances, the link to the paper reference form. A letter can take the place of the reference form as long as it addresses the questions posed in the form. And although just a question from the chat, will you be sharing the slide with us? We won't be sharing the slide specifically, but the recording will be made available, and all application related instructions and information is also on the program webpage. Continuing on, regarding the supporting documents that you will need, we would require official transcripts from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended, with the exception of UBC. When we say all post-secondary institution, we do mean everything. Any transfer credits, any exchange programs, any credited courses that you have taken that you have gotten a degree in, you have to send the official transcripts to us. You'll also be asked to upload your degree certificate if applicable, your English language test result if applicable, your statement of intent, and resume. Again, just to stress the importance of it, if your references are unable to submit an electronic reference and have to send in a paper form, please include the 4-character cohort code, MAE3, when you submit your reference. And they must arrive in a sealed envelope with their signature on the seal. This is basically to avoid any reference letter fraud, which has happened before. And lastly, once you are admitted to the program, you have to provide official sealed transcripts directly to UBC Graduate School. So let's say you have official transcripts right now. You've opened them already. You can scan them and upload them as part of the application process. However, once you're actually admitted into the program, you have to provide new official sealed transcripts directly to UBC Grad School if you want to send in a paper form. Alternatively, you can ask your university to send us your electronic transcripts directly to us as well. That works too. So regarding application deadlines, the application is currently open and we are accepting applications right now. The application deadline is March 25th, 2024, and the documentation deadline is a week later, 2 weeks later, April 8th, 2024. So what that means is you can submit your application before March 25th, and you have a little bit more time until April 8th to upload all the necessary documents. Obviously, we recommend folks to apply as early as possible because usually things take longer than you expect them to. If you think your transcripts will arrive in a week, it'll probably take 2 weeks. If you think your references will arrive in 2 weeks, it'll probably take 3. So just give yourself as much time as possible. Regarding your tuition, there is a difference in cost between domestic and international students, as shown on the slide right here. For tuition is payable over a minimum of 7 installments, so that it's one for each term in your program. The due dates are January, May, and September, which is the beginning of each term. And tuition is charged as a whole program fee and not assessed on a per credit basis. Basically, what this means is you can take a few more electives and your program fee will be the same. If you have transfer credits from previous education that the program allows you to transfer and you end up taking less courses overall, the tuition fee is still the same. You will not be paying any less. As Cynthia mentioned earlier, you can finish your program earlier and your cost will still be the same. Tuition may be raised by up to 2% annually. And if there is an increase, it will usually be announced in spring of each year. Please note that in regards to funding eligibility, this program is a part-time program, so you are not eligible for student loans or other types of funding because the understanding is that students would still be working part-time as they are doing the program. Obviously, if you are able to secure third-party funding on your own, that is up to you, and that is okay. However, if any organization, whether government or nonprofit, reaches out to UBC and asks UBC grad school on whether you are eligible for student loans or other types of funding, UBC will answer no. On top of that, there are student fees that are charged in addition of tuition. They can vary from term to term, and you can budget approximately $800 to $900 per term. This is a hefty amount, which you can partially opt out of, depending on what you already have. You can opt out of the medical/dental plan if you already have your own coverage, and that is approximately $300 something per year. Also, if you live outside of the Greater Vancouver area, you can opt out of this thing called the U-Pass, which is the local public transit pass, and that's approximately $180 per term. So if you live inside the Greater Vancouver area, you're not allowed to opt out of this cost, unfortunately. And please note that in regards to student fees that I'm talking about right here, all fees are subject to change annually, and only the information in the UBC calendar is official. So everything on this slide, especially, is for reference only. And this is directed to teachers in the Vancouver Lower Mainland that have taken UBC students in their classrooms before as student teachers. If this applies to you, you may be eligible for tuition credits, and you can contact teacher.ed@ubc.ca and they can process this process for you. Remember, it's teacher.ed@ubc.ca. They are a separate unit from mine, which deals exclusively with your admission and application procedures. If you're looking to claim tuition credits because you have accepted UBC student teachers before, email teacher.ed@ubc.ca. So that is the end, and the floor is now open to questions and any questions you might have, either in relation to the application or admissions procedure, or if you have any questions for Cynthia regarding the program content or structure. Now is the time to ask. If you have questions afterwards that pop up, you can also email us directly.
I have a question, Kelvin.
Sure.
So the student emailed me this question. So you're saying that the deadline is April 8th in order to upload any documents that you want included into your application?
Yes,
And you
that's
wouldn't
correct.
need to send in your transcripts until after your, the official transcripts until after you're accepted in the program. Is that
So
right?
basically, we need old official transcripts when you're applying. When we say old, these can be an electronic transcript, an official one that your university sent to the student and the student has on hand, or a physical paper copy that the university has given to the student and they have it on hand. If you have either one of those, for the application portion, they can upload it or scan and upload it. If they're starting from scratch, they should send the transcript to us directly from the get-go, if they don't have like any transcripts on hand.
Okay.
Yes.
But the official one needs to be sent from the university itself,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
if they have a sealed copy, a signed and sealed copy, that would be okay?
Yes, if they have a sealed copy unopened,
Yeah.
they can give it to us directly, and we will
Okay.
count that for both the application part and also once they've been admitted. Since we received that directly in the first place, they don't have to send it to us again, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so they can wait until they're admitted to sign it, send it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any more
And
questions
obviously,
oh,
if
sorry.
if whatever the applicant is uploading specifically says unofficial, then we can count that.
Sorry, just a quick question. I'm trying to get my head around the requirement with the transcripts. So when if I understood correctly, during the application process, personally, I have scanned copies of transcripts from my university. So I send the scanned copies along with the application process. And do I at some point have to request the universities to send them directly to you as well?
Yes, but that's only after you have been admitted into the program.
Okay, thanks.
Before that, you say you have scanned copies. You say
Yes.
you have like a copy right now.
I'm sorry?
You say you have a copy of your official transcripts
Yes.
already. Yeah. So when you're applying, you can just scan that and upload it.
Okay.
However, once we have admitted you, then you have to ask your university to send it to us directly.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So it's no tampering. Any other questions on the admission process, application process? Okay. We can always come back to that. I'm gonna, can I share my screen again, please, Calvin?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will just show you a couple, because you're asking us questions about the kinds of capstone projects. So this is an example of, actually, I should put this right in the chat. An example of a website that was built by one of the students in the class, and I just put the link to this in the chat. This was called Market Math, and she was moving into a new position in her school that focused on technology. So she wanted to bring technology, math, and finance together in this project that she called Market Math. And so you can see that her research, the question that she used to guide her is written here, the purpose of the project, how she was bringing in technology, and how she was using it as a way to have students learn about finances by growing food and then selling them, not just food, but actually crafts as well, and selling them at this market. So this was her website, and featuring these various pieces to it and herself. And then she's got these various tabs, her lit review. She has the framework that she used, so you can just see the pieces that went into it. So it's like a sort of like a project or a paper, but it's in a medium that she felt people would more likely read than it would be as a paper. So she put something like this together. So this is an example of something that you could create if you wanted to create a website related to your own project. These are examples of projects of students who built on these for their capstone, but these are actually from the course that's teaching math for ecological and social justice. So you can see that people did projects around water awareness, looking at the Skeena watershed up north, trying to learn more about that and how to preserve it, looking at fair trade with chocolate. This was interesting. This one here was looking at students in the community, learning more about this handicapped parking spot, and the students asked their teacher, these are kindergarten students, asked their teacher, you know, why can't you park in that spot? Why can't you have that particular spot? And then they got into a whole conversation about who can park here and why is, and then they said, well, we have two people, kids said this, we have two people in our school who could use this spot, but we only have one spot. Why is that? And so then they went out into their community with a wagon. I don't know if there's an image of that. And then they kind of, yeah, here they are here with a wagon and looked to see, you know, what places around their community were accessible or not. And then they went out and kind of measured the spot, figured out how many kids could fit in the spot. They used linking cubes to make some measurements. And then they wrote a letter to their principal asking for the principal to consider putting in another parking spot. So they were looking at the size of it again, trying to add another accessible spot. And then she sent me a photo in September that they finally got the spot there, and the kids were outside helping to paint it. So that was an example of a project where one of the students in the class had an action component to it. So understanding homelessness, looking at food costs, period poverty was an interesting one as well. So anyways, you can see the various projects here, but all of these we put on a Padlet like this so that everybody had access to each other's work. Oh, this Debbie created a series of TikToks as a way to kind of think more about how she could reach her students, her high school students. So what's really nice about this cohort is that we have such a range of elementary, primary, high school, and even higher education people coming together and sharing their work and ideas about teaching and learning. And it's just everybody learns so much from each other. No matter if you're at the high school level, you'll learn something from primary teachers and the other way around. So that's just an example, two examples there. And then here, this is the David Robitaille network, which is related to my professorship. But here is the virtual family math fair. And we actually put on this fair in September to families virtually. So we set up a bunch of activities and we would virtually meet with families over an hour and a half. And we're going to do it again this year. And this is a resource that the first cohort made, a whole booklet just on the activities that they tried during this family math fair. So this was an example of an assignment we did as a group as a way to connect with community. And this was really fun. We really enjoyed that. So those are some examples of what we've done. And then I'll just share a couple slides on the impact of the program. As a result of taking this and being in the program, there have been probably about 20 students who have participated with me and others at conferences. related to thinking about mathematics in different ways. This one was with the Indigenous Math Network. So we've had a number of students present at this conference. We've led a few professional workshops and webinars, one on reimagining math education, and this one last year was on connecting with place and land and story around culturally responsive assessment. And so we had people from the cohort share some of their ideas and participate with us in this. This is the current series we have right now, which is looking at centering Indigenous pedagogies in math education. And we have this next series on this one is happening on February 27th. And with this, again, we have still have people from the first cohort participating and some people from the second cohort participating in these series. We have students who have published their work in Vector, and one student actually did this as a part of her capstone project, was to write an article for Vector and have it published. And I encourage every assignment we do at the end is of the type that could be publishable. So yeah, and this was around the virtual family math fair. And then these are some examples of the websites that students have created as their capstone projects they built upon from their course projects. So you can kind of use one to build on the other. Okay, so that gives you some ideas of the kinds of work that people are doing within this theme of teaching and learning math with and in community. Deadline coming up March 25th. I'll stop sharing and see if there's any other questions you might have before we wrap up. Anything that's on your mind that we haven't answered yet for you? You're all good? Okay. Well, I hope to see your applications in the pool. I look forward to reading them, and hopefully look forward to seeing you in September when we start our next cohort. And as Calvin said, if there's any questions you have, you can email us. I can just put my, it's probably online somewhere, right, Calvin?
The contact info?
There's my email there if you want to talk about the program, and Calvin will put his in if you want to talk about the application process, if you have a question related to that. He knows more about that than I do. Jenny?
I just thought of one question. How many students are in the cohort?
Yeah, the first cohort we had 26, and the current cohort we have 27, which is a bit on the large side. So it all depends on the size, all depends on the group, who's applied.
Yes.
And so not everybody who applies is accepted, but yeah, it's a little, so it'll be around that 25 to 27.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, good. All right. Thank you very much for attending and for your questions and your interest in the program. I'm excited. I just love teaching in this. It's just it's just so interesting to have people from different places, excuse me, and then also just to have the issues in the communities are different, and then to come together and share that. And it's just such a professional, everybody really wants to contribute, and to learn and to share with each other. It isn't a cohort where you kind of do your own thing and then you go on to the next course and you go on to the next course. It's really about building this collective knowledge together as a group. And the cohort model, I just love it for that, because you'll make connections that will stay with you for some time afterwards.
Great.
Okay, I better stop talking. I'll keep you too long. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Calvin.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Bye.
Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, both of you.
Thank you.